Welcome back to Coffee with the Candidates. I'm Althea Engman. I'm joined here today with
Thomas Fisher.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Fun facts we should know about you, your background, your work background, anything like that, your family, so on.
Okay, thank you. I'm a first-time candidate for the Senate, 62 years old. I've been practicing law since I was 30. I started out with the United States Navy as a Judge Advocate General, and Guam was actually my first duty station.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I really enjoyed being a JAG. One of the things I'm really proud of in my life, being with the United States Navy and receiving a commission from the President of the United States, that's something, right? But before that, I kind of knocked around a little bit. I taught English. I actually taught English in Tinian High School there. Yeah, I was up there for about 2 years. Yeah, that was kind of an introduction for me to the Mariana Islands, and just loved it. And came down here, first duty station, and been practicing law since then. And just really enjoying it. And I'm 62 now,
right.
So kind of at the end of the law career, and I wanted to try something different, and that's why first time candidate. So it's a Reader's Digest version, I guess.
May I ask, why did you stay in Guam and not go back to the mainland?
Because I love Guam.
What do you love the most about it?
The weather.
The weather?
The people. The food. Just the ability to just enjoy so much about the ocean and the island. It's just a great place to live. It's got just a wonderful vibration to it. One of the things I really like about Guam is, I don't know how to put this. There is a real, maybe it's because we're an island, maybe it's because we're only about 150,000 people, but there is a real sense of responsibility on the island for your neighbors and your village.
Fair.
And it doesn't matter whether or not you know the person or anything like that. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter if you're black, white, gay, straight, doesn't matter. There's just a sense of community and responsibility. And I was talking to somebody the other day about this. I'm running for Senate, and many other people are as well. And if I'm lucky enough to get elected, I will get there because the people of Guam asked me to do this job and have given me permission to do the job. And it's not just Republicans. I'm running as a Republican, but it's not just Republicans who would vote for me, I hope. It would be Democrats as well. So when you get into the legislature, I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's democratic to say, well, I am here to represent the Republican Party or the Socialist Party or the Democratic Party. You're not. I mean, it's the philosophy with which you and I carry on our lives in the village, in our community, in our family, has to extend into the legislature. So, for example, if things are going wrong for me, that means it's going wrong for the guy next door. And whether he be Democrat or whatever, I want him to do well as anyone else. So, I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. I see the legislature essentially being a reflection of the community. So, to divide up into warrior tribes is just silly and non-productive. So
you're running for senator, but you have this background in law. Why not run for attorney general?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I really did think about running for attorney general. And the attorney general essentially is a position in which you're managing a large, very important agency, right? And what I would like to do in my life right now, I practiced law for 30 years, and living on Guam, we're all talking to each other constantly about what's going on with the government, et cetera, and so forth. And frankly, I was complaining a lot. Why is this road a mess? What's up with the trash? How come I can't get rid of my washing machine? Things like that. Just the local problems like that. What I would like to do in the legislature fundamentally is I would like to, just like Fred Burdeo used to be chief of police, I would like to act somewhat as a policeman over the government of Guam. The legislature is a co-equal branch, and I hate to sound like I'm in there already, but if I'm lucky to be in there, the way I look at being in the legislature is you have to exercise oversight on what the executive branch is doing, and that's a constitutional duty. And that's what I would like to do in the legislature primarily, is to exercise that ability of oversight. So that's a big part about why I'm running, and that just means, I want to find out where the money's going. We got a billion. We have $1 billion that came in just this year. Where'd it go? Why is the Hagåtña pool a mess? Why is the sports complex, the pool up there? Why is that not up? The nuts and bolts of actually putting and keeping the community together. I want to look at those sorts of things. I want to hold people's feet to the fire, and I'm. Frankly, in the practice of law, I've been doing that for quite a bit with the FOIAs and, this, that, and the other thing, and
all that,
yelling at people, and why are you not doing this? And what's, et cetera.
Yeah. So you would talk to people, and they give you permission to run for senator, right? What information have you gotten that is the biggest issue on Guam right now?
I don't know that there is a biggest issue, but I can think of a couple of them. One is inflation, and one of the first things I want to do in the legislature is drop a bill to roll back the BPT, the business privilege tax. The reason I want to do that is, rolling it back is almost like an emergency measure. The prices just keep rising and rising and rising, and on top of that, we throw 4%, 5% tax on the consumers. Now everybody says, well, it's 5 cents on the dollar that a business receives. Well, a business is going to pass that along, and that has an inflationary pressure to it. And, with all the other concerns and everything, we really, really, really need to get just this load off people's back. All right, so that's one of the first things I want to do. But honestly, a few moments ago we were talking, at least I was talking about the community feeling in Guam and how I think that should go into the legislature and so forth. But, there's really a cancer in this community, and that cancer is crystal methamphetamine. And we've been hearing about the war on ice, the war on drugs for 22 years. And, I was listening to, I think it was Governor Calvo saying a few days ago that the price of crystal methamphetamine is tanking, which indicates that it's more available. And crystal methamphetamine, people have been banging the table on this one forever, but it's destroying the community. Why do we have homelessness, for example? A lot of that is, I think, because people have just had it with family members who are addicted to crystal methamphetamine. There's theft in the villages forever. Why did my bush cutter disappear? Well, it's because this guy had to sell it to get a gram of ice, right? We've had gruesome, horrible murders recently on Guam, involving, dismemberment and so forth. And that is, I think, attributable to crystal methamphetamine. We got to get rid of it. And we have to do that by vigorous law enforcement. None of this catch and release stuff. We have to almost be draconian about it because you can't negotiate. You cannot negotiate with a murderer. You cannot negotiate with crystal methamphetamine. It has to go. So you asked me what I think the two biggest problems on Guam right now facing everybody, I think, is inflation, but the underlying disaster of crystal methamphetamine. Yeah.
So we're talking about the community, and I read that you're talking about this thing called the People's Platform, which is a hybrid of education and economics.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, we touched on the economics a little bit, rolling back the BPT to provide what is essentially emergency relief for people, and then also we also touched on crime. We were just talking about crystal meth, right? And as a result of the epidemic, I think people are eliminated from an ability to progress and improve themselves. So you asked about the social aspect of my platform. We have to provide alternatives for people, and we also have to provide alternatives for people who, maybe they're not getting into Harvard Business School, right? But they still are entitled to, the education they need to succeed. We can't cripple people coming right out the gate. So one of the things I would like to do is identify individuals in the community who are college ready and dedicated and willing to do that, but just don't have the financial resources to do it and aren't getting offered scholarships from Stanford and so forth. There's a lot of talent out there, a lot of
Definitely
talent.
on Guam, a lot of talent.
A lot of talent. It's just continually impressive. So one of the things I would like to do is identify a source of funding, and it all kind of weaves together, because I think it's evident that the government wastes a lot of money. Contracts are going out that perhaps shouldn't have gone out, and people who are political cronies of certain people, et cetera, and so forth, are taking money which could be better used to help the community. By the way, that's the community which paid the taxes that make those things possible.
So what makes you different than all the other candidates, and how are you going to help us recover from COVID? How are you going to help the youth and all that stuff?
Well, I can bring my ability as an
Okay.
attorney. You know, I can read a statute. They're not always the easiest thing in the world to read. I can, so I can bring an ability as a ability to bring my skills in the law to the legislature, and you know, it is the legislature, so obviously,
Obviously,
I think somebody,
it helps.
yeah, it would help a little bit, I think. So in that sense, it makes me different, but I don't have an interest in making a career of this, to be frank. You know, I'm 62. It's kind of late to.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
It's never
That's
too
right.
late.
I'm just a young guy here. Yeah, but I intend. I don't. You know, I'm not a revolutionary.
That's fair.
I'd like to get into the legislature to do a specific job, which is exercise the oversight in the legislature. If I don't accomplish that, and if people aren't happy with me, then get rid of me. You know, I used this phrase before. You know, I was in the Navy, and many people, I'm sure, in the restaurant were as well, if not the Navy, in the service. You get a fitness report, at least we did. I don't know what the Army calls it, but the Navy called it a fitness report. And you came out once a year, and it told you how you were doing compared to everyone else, you know. And if you weren't doing well, you found out, and there were certain results of that. And I look at the election for governor, legislature, delegate, OPA, mayors, whatever. That's getting your fitness report.
Okay.
And if your fitness report, if you're not doing very well, then you need to be fired. I mean, otherwise we can't move the ship forward. So again, I guess this kind of reflects on, you said to me, or you asked me rather, what makes me different. I will try to do my best. You know, I'm not going to come here and, you know, promise you rainbows and unicorns or whatever. I will promise you, though, that I will do my best. And if I screw it up, I expect to get fired.
At least you're honest.
No, well, yeah. You know, I don't have an agenda other than that. You asked earlier about family connections. I don't have a family here on Guam, so you know, I don't have that sort of pressure. I'm not a corporate candidate. I'm not sponsored by any corporation. Independent in that sense, and I intend to, again, if I'm elected, I intend to undertake the senatorial office as an independent, without an agenda or without, you know, a secret agenda to help others. And I'm not saying other people necessarily have that, but I mean the voters are entitled to know.
Right.
You know.
Well, you answered all the questions I had, basically. Was
Really?
there any Yes, you did.
Yeah?
Yeah. Any last minute messages you would like to say to the people that are watching and possibly voting?
Yeah. I hope you will give me an opportunity to serve you in the legislature. I will tell you that I will try my best. I will try my absolute best. You've heard what it is I want to do. I want to provide immediate relief, and that's through rolling back the BPT. And I want to exercise oversight in the legislature to make sure that my money and your money is getting spent correctly. I mean, that's a fundamental responsibility I think the legislator has. I'm number 3 on the ballot, and I would ask you for your vote. And you know, I told you at the beginning of this interview, this is the first time I've ever run for public office. It's just kind of overwhelming in a sense, you know, to ask all these people, could you trust me, you know? And you know, you hear it again and again. People are saying I'm humbled and so forth. It really is humbling, you know, to get out and ask somebody, and somebody says, "Hey, Fisher, you know, I'll support you." That is, it's wonderful, you know. And I hope not to let people down.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.